So before we get into today's show, I just want to mention there was some great activity on the channel for yesterday's podcast. Thanks to all of you who listen on Spotify, who listen on Apple Pods, and especially all of you who are watching and listening on YouTube. Yesterday was our most viewed video since the beginning of this program about 6 weeks ago. The numbers were terrific. The comments were great. The likes were tremendous. And we had more traffic and we got more subscriptions. And it's all because of you supporting this show. I just can't thank you enough. Great activity yesterday. Don't forget to rate and review at Spotify and Apple Pods. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Trying to get to 1,000 subscriptions before the end of October. We're about 200 away with a couple of weeks left or so. So again, thank you. Cannot say enough about your support. All right, we'll get into the Bills game coming up on Sunday. But first, there was an interesting Mike Giardi story on Boston Sports Journal this week. And there was one line that stood out to me in this story. And here's that line from Mike. Plenty of folks in the upper reaches of the building would rather have more losses than a win or two that could cost draft positioning. In fact, some are already talking about next year. The upper reaches. I mean, my first reaction to this is good. At least some people in the building are thinking about the future. At least some people in the building are thinking about 2024. We talked about yesterday Bill Belichick's reported approach at the trade deadline, what people expect him to do, which is not look forward to 2024, try to put everything into 2023. So I'm glad. It's a good thing that you have people in the quote unquote upper reaches of the building who are thinking about the future, who are thinking about draft positioning. That's precisely what those people should be doing. So that is good news. The second part of this is, what do we think about upper reaches? What does that mean? Who is part of the upper reaches? The way I read this, I think Giardi's talking about ownership. The upper reaches, to me, means ownership. Not the upper reaches of the front office, not the front office, not the coaching staff, not the team, not people within the team, not people close to the team. The upper reaches of the building, I take that as ownership. And my question is, are we talking about Robert or are we talking about Jonathan Kraft? Which one of those two? Or are we talking about both? Are the Krafts focused on 2024? Because if they are, and Bill Belichick is going to handle the deadline like he's going to supposedly handle it, then as we said yesterday, they best get in the way of that. If they don't get in the way of that, yes, it's malpractice by ownership, but also you have a coach and GM, specifically the GM, who is going against the best wishes of ownership, which does not mean good things for that GM and Bill Belichick. So I think this is Mike Giardi telling us that ownership is focused more on next year than what could happen the rest of this season as they sit at 1-5. And I think people should be happy about that. They should be optimistic about that. I don't know if the Krafts are aligned in this thought process, but at least one, if not both, are thinking this way. At least these conversations are happening in the building. And I'm not surprised that they are, but it's good to hear that they are. It's good to have that confirmed. And really, this is the second time this week a report in the wording within that report has stood out to me. The upper reaches from Giardi. And then we had this Phil Perry post that we didn't talk about earlier this week, but you go back to Sunday as the Pats were ready to play against the Raiders and the Malik Cunningham news came out. Phil Perry posted something interesting to me on X. Here's what Perry posted. Can tell you, again, this is about Malik Cunningham, can tell you there have been folks in leadership positions with the team who have been wanting to see what Cunningham can do at quarterback. So Giardi uses the term upper reaches. Perry uses the term leadership positions. Are we talking about the same people? If we're talking about the same people, these people are leaking to the local media the message. This is about the future. This is now about the future. This is a clear message to the fan base. We know what's going on. We're not happy about it. And we know that priority number one should be an attempt to set this organization up for success in the future, not necessarily try to get as much as you can out of this season, which many feel like is a lost season. Again, I keep the window open about 2%. That window is open about 2%, just a crack, just a itsy bitsy crack. But I'm leaving it open a crack. They can somehow pull something crazy out of their tuk-tuk and beat Buffalo and Miami or split this and then go on a run. The 2% chance, and I'm probably being nice. But this is somebody. Again, I don't know if it's the same people, the same group of people. I have no idea. But I don't think it's a coincidence that Phil Perry tweets that out on Sunday. And then just a couple of days later, Giardi writes what he writes. Somebody is pushing this idea. It's all about the future. And again, I think that is a good thing. If you're a Patriots fan, which you are, most of you listening to this podcast or watching me here on YouTube, again, thumbs up. Most of you have to feel good about that. Now, back to Phil Perry's post, leadership positions. That's a little bit different than Giardi's. So my guess, and again, I don't know, this is pure speculation, but my guess is Giardi's writing within the Boston Sports Journal article this week, that's more looking at ownership. That's more looking at the executive level. I read Perry's post more team-oriented. And again, I could be totally off. But when you talk about leadership positions with the team, who is that? On field? Are there players looking at Cunningham saying, I wonder what he can do? Some of the coaches. Are the coaches looking at Cunningham, wondering, I wonder what he could do? Some people in the front office. Is Malik Cunningham a Matt Groh guy? Is Matt Groh looking at Cunningham and saying, we should try him at quarterback? Or again, is it just a different terminology used by Perry, and it's the same people that Giardi is talking to or has heard about talking within the facility that are looking towards the future? I don't think it's Belichick, and I don't think it's Bill O'Brien. And the reason why I don't think it's those two guys is because of, A, how they handled Cunningham on the field Sunday. They played him 6 snaps. If you're super intrigued by what somebody can do, you're not going to play them 6 snaps. So I don't think it was Bill Belichick and Bill O'Brien. In the way that O'Brien and Belichick handled all of the talk surrounding Cunningham this week would also lean me towards the idea that the head coach and the offensive coordinator are not necessarily stumping for Cunningham to be that guy. Obviously, if it was Belichick, he would have played more. You could say maybe O'Brien wanted Cunningham to play more, but Belichick told him not to play him as much. It's possible. But I think the way they handled Cunningham on the field and off the field would tell me that it's unlikely we're talking about the head coach or the OC. And this is really just agenda time, folks. People are talking. This began going back a couple of weeks ago. We had the Henry McKenna article that was protecting Mac Jones, saying, look, he's been surrounded by garbage. What's he supposed to do? We had the Jeff Howe article after the McKenna article. And Jeff, a friend of the podcast, friend of the program, Jeff wrote about all the personnel mistakes made by Bill and that Kraft would be willing to fire Bill. And if you think that Bill's safe, no way, no how. That story came out right after McKenna's story. Then we had the Doug Kyde, Andrew Callahan article in the Boston Herald about Mac Jones and some of his failures. And then you had Teddy Bruschi on ESPN this week saying that Belichick is going to be considering the idea of leaving the organization. It's all picking up. Phil Perry's post, Giardi's article. People are talking. And people are starting to point fingers. People are starting to lay the blame. Mac, his agenda has been served. Belichick's agenda has been served by some people. The Kraft's agenda has certainly been served over the past couple of weeks. Everybody is starting to talk. And this is what happens. This is what happens when you're 1-5. This is what happens when people should be held accountable and responsible for some of the decisions that they have made that has led to this debacle at the beginning of the 2023 season. But people are yapping. Gums are flapping. This is what goes down. The agendas. And think about it. Why are we getting all of this? It's public relations 101. It's what this is. Belichick has a legacy he's trying to protect. He wants people to know that, hey, I'm not at fault here. We've had injuries and the quarterback isn't great. Belichick's going to try to protect his legacy at all costs. The quarterback is trying to survive. He's trying to save his career right now. So he has people around him that are going to talk. You have impending free agents on the team who want to talk about how bad things are and how they've been served wrongly to try to keep their value as they head into the offseason. So you have some players who are trying to protect their wallets. And you have ownership. And no matter what owner you're talking about, no matter what sport you're talking about, owners are always concerned about the optics. So Belichick protecting his legacy, Mac Jones protecting his career, other guys protecting their wallets, ownership trying to handle the optics with the fan base. And when you combine all of those factors, you're going to have lots of leak in the boat. And that's what we're seeing. And if this losing continues, how ugly could or how ugly will this get? We'll have to see. Rate and review Spotify, Apple Pods. Don't forget, like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. Just take a second out of your day. Hit that thumbs up. Means an awful lot to us. And the proof is in the pudding. Yesterday, we had, last I checked, 250 likes on YouTube. That meant more eyeballs. The most viewed video of the podcast's short history. And we had more subscriptions yesterday in a single day than we've ever had. And it's all because of you. I can't thank you enough. And the kind words from so many of you in the comments. I appreciate you. All right, let's get to Bills, Patriots as we get ready for Sunday. First question I have is, how healthy will the Patriots be? Upwards of 26% of their roster is on the injury report. 20 dudes are on the injury report. No bueno. Trent Brown was limited yesterday. Hunter Henry, Josh Uche, Jonathan Jones did not practice. The good news is Ramondre Stevenson is off the injury report, so that's good. Not good, Kayshon Boutte. We talked about playing the young receivers. Well, Boutte inactive last week for no apparent reason. Oh, no, sorry. It's because you wanted to play Malik Cunningham 6 snaps at quarterback. I digress. But you have Kayshon Boutte, who was inactive last weekend. I'd like to see him get on the field. Well, he's on the report. He was added yesterday with a hamstring. That's not great. And it's a mess. The injury report is a mess, and I don't think there's shenanigans going on. I think it's too early for that. I just don't think that's happening. So let's look at this game aside from the injuries, and you start at the quarterback position as we look at what the offensive plan could be or should be against the Bills defense. Who's QB2? Is it Bailey Zappi? Is he back in that spot this week after being the emergency guy last week? Is there another surprise around the corner? Do we get a Will Grier as the QB2 this weekend? Do we see Malik Cunningham as the second quarterback? And again, Zappi, the emergency quarterback. Is it Malik Cunningham, the backup quarterback, and Will Grier as the emergency quarterback? Let me just point out how ridiculous this is that we're having this conversation week 7 of the season. The fact that we have no idea who the backup quarterback is for this football team tells you about the operation. It's a joke. But we have to have the conversation because we don't know. We have a starting quarterback that looks broken, and we have an absolute flip of the coin for your backup quarterback situation. So will we see Malik Cunningham again as QB2? I thought Andrew Callahan had an interesting point on X this week. He posted, Buffalo is one of 3 teams not to face designed quarterback runs this year. Option run or quarterback keep off zone read. They're the only, actually one of 3 teams, not the only, one of 3 teams that have not faced design quarterback runs, option runs, quarterback keepers off zone reads, and all that stuff. One of 3 teams. The Bills, according to Callahan, They allow 5.7 yards per carry up the middle, which is the worst in the NFL. And Callahan points out it's a great point made by him. Inside zone read runs could create and would create more interior double teams. So Bills defense, run defense, weak in the middle. They have not faced quarterback designed runs. Could be an opportunity for that. But again, the fact that there's no confidence in QB1 and a complete guess as to who QB2 is going to be speaks volumes of what's going on with this team. So Sunday, priority number one, couldn't care less who the quarterback is, run the ball. Run the ball. Try to establish your run game early. The Bills are the second worst team in football defending the run, yards per carry. It's well over 5 yards. They're 31st in the league in that statistic. They have not been good against the run, and they haven't been very good against the run for years now. It's been one of their major weaknesses. As good as they have been over the past few years, one of the major weaknesses of this team and this defense has been their incapability, don't know if that's a word, I think it is, of defending the run. And that has continued this year. And one of the bigger issues for the Bills is that they miss tackles, tons of tackles. They actually have the 6th most missed tackles in the league this year. So test that. Test the run defense. Test their tackling ability. And you're going to see mostly zone, I would think, from them. And what goes hand in hand with running the football and testing the missed tackles is the key injuries that the Bills are facing. We talked about the Patriots having 20 guys on the injury report. Well, the Bills have 4 or 5 guys who are critical to the team and critical to this defense that are going to be out or they're iffy. Matt Milano, out. Tre'Davious White, out. Daquan Jones, out. Ed Oliver, who is a significant piece of that defensive line, is iffy. He might not go. Those are literally 4 of the best defensive players the Bills have. So you are facing a Bills defense that's had trouble against the run and that is very banged up. Now, I do have a couple of concerns. Concern number one, Buffalo's pass rush. Buffalo's pass rush has been very good this year. One of the best teams getting after the quarterback. And we know the problems the Patriots have had this year protecting Mac Jones. Now, Von Miller's not the same guy as of right now coming off the ACL, but there are plenty of guys that can get to the quarterback. The Bills are number 1 in sack percentage, number 1 in pressure percentage, and they don't blitz a lot. They're 21st in the league when it comes to blitz percentage. So we're just talking about our guys are better than your guys, and we are going to get after the quarterback. We don't have to blitz. The Patriots are blitzing a ton. The Patriots, I think, have the 2nd highest blitz rate in the league this year. The Bills are antithetical to that. They don't blitz a lot, but they get a ton of pressure. The Patriots are blitzing like crazy since Matthew Judon went down with the injury. They're not getting pressure. It's a problem. Taylor Kyles talking about the Bills' pass rush. He's, of course, from CLNS on X this week. You can check him out. AJ Epinesa has been on a heater the past 2 weeks, Kyles posts. He has the 2nd highest pressure rate among edge players. His 3 sacks are tied with Leonard Floyd for 3rd most. Now, Trent Brown has been good this year, Kyles points out, but Epinesa's bend around the edge, his athleticism, his bend around the edge, led to some convincing wins last season against Brown. And Trent Brown, again, is limited. It's not great. Not great at all. Evan Lazar reminds us on X this week, Patriots.com. My guy Evan, he posts, Patriots right tackles in 6 games this season. They've given up 4 sacks and 36 quarterback pressures. That's the most in the NFL. We know right tackle has been a disaster for this team. Connor McDermott was picked up this week. Will he play? Not sure. But I will tell you, according to Lazar, that McDermott in his 6 starts last season gave up 0 sacks and 11 quarterback pressures. That is per Pro Football Focus. I would not be surprised if we see McDermott picked up off the street, replacing Vidarian Lowe. I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind some of you replacing Vidarian Lowe at this point. So the pass rush is going to be an issue. Concern number 2, the Bills are really good at taking the football away. They are number 3 in the league in forcing takeaways. If you're wondering, the Patriots are 5th in giveaways per game. That is not a good combination. So when you think about this defense and what they do well, they rush the passer well, and they take the football away. 2 of the biggest issues for this Patriots offense has been pass protection and turnovers. You get where I'm going. I think many of you, if not all of you, are picking up what I'm putting down. Run the football. Run the football on early downs. Try to establish it. And I understand that the Bills will likely stack the box, take that away. Try it. Do what you can do. Run the ball. You ran the ball successfully last week. You just weren't committed to it. Commit to it this week. And commit to it on first and second down, especially first down. And what the Bills defense really is it's a bend, don't break operation. We've said that for years with the Patriots. Well, that's what the Bills actually do. The Bills are 4th in the NFL in red zone defense. One question, their defensive backs, especially without White, those guys are iffy. I would not be surprised whatsoever if the Patriots try to establish that run game, interior defense, attack that, especially if Oliver is out. And then that will open up some things to play action and attacking these defensive backs, because without White, these DBs are not very good. They are not very good at all. All right, rate, review, Spotify, Apple Pods, like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. Give me that thumbs up. It means an awful lot. And subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscriptions by the end of October. That's my goal. Hopefully we can do it. Let's continue to build this community. All right, Patriots defense versus Bills offense. The Bills offense, when you look at the numbers, just overall in totality, they jump off the charts. And I'll run through some of these. So the Bills offense, top 3 in points per game, top 3 in points per play, top 3 in yards per play, top 3 in third down offense, top 3 in the red zone, top 3 in completion percentage, top 3 in yards per pass. Now, I don't want you to remember all of those individually, but you get the idea. They are a top 3 offense in a ton of categories. Now, is Josh Allen healthy? Huge question. Huge question. Now, he practiced fully this week. As of yesterday, he was out there practicing fully. However, we all know that teams can kind of manipulate that, and they can play some games. And earlier in the week, we heard that Allen had some shoulder soreness. So how healthy is Allen? Is Allen compromised in any way? Because if Allen is compromised in any way, that obviously changes the entire landscape of what could happen on Sunday. So how healthy is Allen? How is that shoulder? And I actually posted this on X. Nobody brought this up. No, I didn't hear the broadcast team at all criticize Josh Allen for this, but when there was that kerfuffle, shout out to Judge Judy, when there was that kerfuffle in the end zone between teams last weekend, Josh Allen went running in and led with his shoulder against one of the defensive linemen. Like, what are you doing? I saw certain former players posting like, oh, that I would love that out of my quarterback. No, that's stupid. Allen has to protect himself. We all know that he takes risks on the field. How many times does he try to hurdle people and get smoked? How many times does he run with the football and lead with his shoulder? Unnecessary. He's run a lot less this year because the Bills are finally trying to protect him more. But when you look at how he carries himself, yeah, I mean, he's got piss and vinegar, and that's nice when you got a quarterback who's all fiery. But that's just dumb. Let the other guys fight. Don't be running in there with your shoulder. You know, Mel Gibson and Braveheart, that's an old reference, but freedom. What the hell's going on? So how healthy is he? We won't know how serious this is until Sunday. I'm not believing anything the Bills say. I want to see him out there playing. If Allen is healthy, not good news for the Patriots. Here's what Allen has done in the prior 5 games against this Patriots defense, and I want to underline this. This is excluding the wind game because that game was an anomaly. That game was just ridiculous. Here's what Allen has done in the prior 5 games against the Patriots when you take out that wind game. He has completed 70% of his passes, 17 touchdowns, only 1 interception. His passer rating in the 5 games prior versus this Pats defense, excluding the wind game, his passer rating is 122.56. That's absurd. And you could probably guess his record is 5-0. Ipso facto, Allen has ripped you apart from limb to limb the last 5 games, excluding that anomaly in Buffalo on that Monday night. And why did this happen? Because before that wasn't the case. Allen struggled a lot against the Patriots defense before the last 5 games. It coincides with Stephon Diggs joining Buffalo. And as much as Allen has killed you, Diggs has killed you. Shout out to Zach Cox from Nesson on X this week. He posted, here's what Diggs has done against the Patriots since he's been a Bill. 6 catches, 92 yards. 9 catches, 145 yards, and 3 touchdowns. The wind game, the anomaly, 4 catches, 51 yards. Then 7 catches, 85 yards and a touchdown. 7 catches, 91 yards and a touchdown. 7 catches, 104 yards and a touchdown. So you could pretty much, if the weather is okay on Sunday, we'll get to that in a little bit, but you could pretty much write Stephon Diggs down for 6 or 7 catches, 80 to 100 yards and a touchdown. That's what he's done almost every single time he has faced the Patriots secondary. So Josh Allen got better when Diggs came to town, and Diggs has killed you. Do you have anything to do to change that? Can you find a way? And that's where I bring this up. By the way, Josh Allen loves Diggs. I mean, he focuses on Diggs to a crazy level. Diggs has 66 targets this year, okay? The second most targets on this team belong to Gabe Davis. Guess how many targets Gabe Davis has? I'll give you a second at home or in your car. Stephon Diggs has 66 targets. How many targets do you think Davis has? He has 30. Diggs has more than twice the amount of targets that Davis has. This is just throw the football to Stephon Diggs. So the Patriots, they've gotten killed by Josh Allen, and they've played it safe against Allen. Their game plan kind of similar to what we saw against Miami earlier in the season. Lay back, play it safe, just don't give up the big play. And that hasn't worked. I just gave you the numbers. If the Patriots come out on Sunday and play it safe again, I'm going to be infuriated. You have been crushed the last 5 games when you've played that way against Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. You can't play that way this weekend. Learn from the history. Learn from the history of this matchup. Change it up. Mix things up. With that in mind, is Marte Mapu going to play? Do you know that Mapu had 0 snaps last weekend? Your 3rd round pick, who played pretty well in the preseason, was great in camp, a guy that was supposed to bring versatility to this defense, could play multiple positions, played 0 snaps last weekend. Mapu has to get on the field this weekend. One of the reasons why they drafted Marte Mapu, at least in my evaluation, and I'm not the only one, but one of the reasons why they drafted Mapu in the first place was for a matchup like this. Because Mapu can go sideline to sideline. He can play inside the box. He can keep an eye on Allen. And he's big enough and a good enough tackler to bring Allen down. If I see a bunch of these smaller safeties hanging out in the box, if I see, Juwan Bentley and Tavai running for their lives trying to catch Josh Allen, I'm going to lose my ever-loving mind on Sunday. And I'm already almost there because of how the season's going. I don't need much. I'm almost over the edge. They got to do something different. Change it up. Mapu has to play on Sunday. And you have to be much more aggressive than you've been in the past. If not, you're likely going to give up 35 points and lose this game by a truckload. Change it up. I'm on Dawson Knox watch too, by the way. After Michael Mayer, what he did last week against the Patriots early in that game, I would not be surprised. Knox is 3rd on this team in targets with 25. They got to make sure they pay attention to Knox. If they're paying all this attention to Diggs and Gabe Davis, you could see some of those crossing routes with the tight end, just like we saw with Mayer last week and what Josh McDaniels did. You could see more of that this weekend. So keep an eye on Knox. All right, my predictions coming up. First, rate and review Spotify, Apple Pods. Like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. Every single thumbs up counts. We had over 250 on yesterday's show, and that really helped. We had the most views in this program's history for a single episode within 18 hours of the episode dropping yesterday. Thanks to every single one of you. And thanks again for the comments that I see. Means an awful lot. All right, my prediction for this game on Sunday. The line, if you're wondering, Bills -8.5 on the road. It's a big road favorite. So the Bills are giving 8.5. Now, here's what I'll say first and foremost. The weather could be tricky. Keep an eye if you're going to bet on the game. If you're one of the bettors, right? And I mess around a little bit with the good old betting. If you like to bet games, pay attention closely to the weather, because as of what I saw yesterday, wind gusts could be up to 35, 40 miles an hour on Sunday. And there's like an 80, 90% chance of rain. So if by Sunday morning it looks like we're going to have a lot of rain and some difficult wind, that could change this game. So keep that in mind. Here's my worst nightmare. The weather's bad. We get another fluke game like the wind game. Belichick gets false hope. And all of a sudden next week, people are talking about, hey, they might have a chance. They might actually have a chance. Again, I give them a 2% chance. I leave the window open. I'm not totally quitting on this season. Call me a moron. Call me naive. Call me whatever you want to. But I want to hold on to hope. I don't want my football season to be just hopeless for the next 11 games, even though that's kind of how I feel mostly, like 98% of me. But I don't want this to be, torrential downpours from time to time, 35-mile-an-hour winds. Patriots win an ugly game 13-10, and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, here we go. No, I don't want that false hope to be built for Bill Belichick. Now, if you go out there and you just beat the Bills and the weather's okay and you find a way, okay, we had the conversation. And speaking of that, Buffalo isn't as good as they were last year. And I said this before the season kicked off. I thought they would take a step back. They haven't been as consistent. They're at their best. They're still one of the best teams in the league, but they're just not at their best as consistently as they have been the past few years. They've taken a step back, and they're susceptible. They lost to the Jets in week 1. Josh Allen completely turtled against Robert Saleh's defense, turned the ball over 100 times. Giants game last week. I mean, they got away with a blatant penalty in the end zone last week that should have given the Giants another chance to beat them with zeros on the clock. And the Giants are not good. So they're susceptible. They're certainly not unbeatable. But again, the last 5 games from Josh Allen, excluding the wind game, Allen's gone off. Buffalo has beaten New England 10-plus points. They've won each of the last 5 games by 10 points or more. That's what I call a trend. And Josh Allen's production against this defense, that's what I call a trend. Again, this could all change if Josh Allen is compromised because of that shoulder. It could change if the weather is bananas. But if Allen is healthy and the weather is okay, I don't know how I could possibly justify picking the Patriots to cover this 8.5. I can't see it. The Allen problem. I can't believe they're going to be able to stay close enough due to the recent history. So my pick, Bills, I would take the Bills minus 8.5, and I would go with the over. I'd go with the over. The over-under number that I saw was 41. So we'll see what happens on Sunday. Don't forget to rate, review, Spotify, Apple Pods. Also like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. Trying to get to 1,000 subscriptions by the end of October. Can't thank you enough. If something happens, if something breaks over the weekend, we'll be all over it. But other than that, have fun, be safe, be well. We'll be back on Monday to recap this game and much more on the Nick Cattle Show.